Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What's the Rate, the show where we get into the raw and real of pursuing creative success as a self-funded artist in your 20s in New York City. And we are back with another episode on our resource series. And today I am here with a friend, Merced, also known as DJ Mode. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Of course.
So tell us about you and what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm a music director, DJ, creative, also an investor. I have my own company, My Music Experience, and I've been a DJ now for over 22 years. I started at 13, so I was fortunate that I knew what I wanted to do when I was very young. So I was like really the blessing of it all to like decide that at that age of like, once I touched the turntables, there was no going back. So I started out as an intern at the Scratch DJ Academy, which is a DJ school in New York City that was started by Jam Master Jay of Run DMC. And yeah, so I started in there, and the reason for me going was simply to just be around. It wasn't really to learn. It was more so I just felt like as if I was going to ever be successful in this, I needed to sort of like surround myself by the best talent. And so that was where I believed was the best talent in New York City as far as DJs, producers, things like that. So I just showed up. And I was just willing to do anything. So that was me at 17 years old. So I had teen jobs and stuff like that, like working my way up to it. I worked at the YMCA, at Blockbuster. But up until that point at Scratch, when I got in there, I was working for free. I was setting up equipment. I was sweeping floors. Anything that they asked me to do, I would do. They would like sell equipment. I would go to clients' houses and set everything up for them until the opportunity came for me to teach. So one of the instructors, which the school is taught by celebrity instructors, that was like their main selling point. So one of the DJs was supposed to teach the class. They felt like I would be the best fit to cover until this person showed up. Once I got that opportunity, I never looked back. So I was able to get a gig with them as an instructor, and then ultimately becoming academy manager. And then that kind of like began my actual like professional DJ career. And
I want to say congratulations also on the US Open. Can we talk about that?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, this year was an incredible time for us. Me and my team, we were able to put together such an incredible sonic experience at the US Open. It's such a big world-class event, so to be a part of it in any capacity would have been cool. But for us to be able to like help with the music on the grounds, the events, the actual matches, like being like able to staff, all the other courts that were happening at once. It was like 3 weeks of like nonstop action, and it was a lot of fun and very privileged to be a part of that.
So what's your take on working for free now with how many resources that we have available? Also with the internet being available, you could kind of learn how to do it and then put it out there. But with your story, how you were interning and doing, the sweeping, the cleaning and things like that.
Sure, of course. I mean, for me, I think that education is very important. So if you find a mentor, for sure, you can sort of like offer your services or in any way that you can help, like whatever you have at your disposal that you're going to offer to help with them. But I don't believe in selling your service for free or giving your service away for free. So let's say whatever your practice is or whatever your like niche, concentration would be, let's say it's photography or art or whatever that kind of discipline is, I wouldn't just give that away for free. I think that we have plenty of resources for you to put things out, like you said, and do things on your own. I just think that if you devalue yourself from the very beginning, it's going to be a hard climb out of it. So I'd prefer for someone to develop in private, and then when they're ready to actually give the service to anyone, it should be valued, right? And so that would be my only concern. It's just giving it away for free just quickly. I don't think they're going to ever, most people think that that'll turn into an opportunity in the future, and most often it doesn't. So an internship is very different. That's like a pathway. It's a roadmap to a job. It's a roadmap to a gig. If you're just offered to DJ someone's wedding and they're like, oh, well, you don't have very much experience, but I want you to come DJ this for free. That carries a cost. There's expenses that you're going to have to accrue to go do this. You're spending a lot on your equipment. You're spending a lot on your time to learn the craft. Like it's all those like really important things that you have to keep mind of, like keeping like a straight budget of everything that you have spent already. So the investment that you've created and you've made to do the job is worthwhile for you to get paid. Even if you start charging as, a smaller rate, perhaps because you don't have a lot of experience, but you should be charging. A lot of times, often people think that they don't value themselves. And I think that if you begin with that mindset of not valuing what you're doing, you're like, oh, well, I've never done this professionally, so I shouldn't be charging a lot of money for it or whatever. It's like, sure, I understand. Maybe you don't do that, but do your research. Understand kind of like the other competition, the other people that are doing this, what that's valued at, what these people would be receiving. It's a huge value add. And if they believe that you are capable of carrying that event, then you better believe that there should be a budget for that, because there's a budget for everything else in the entire segment. So I just don't think you should undervalue yourself. Just know that when you're ready, like, go practice in your bedroom, do it for friends, family, that's different. But once you get out into the real world, you're going to end up basically like a rising tide lifts all ships. So if one person begins to just offer the service for free and they're really good, guess what happens for the rest of the world? Like, this no longer becomes a viable source of income. So that's what's a little bit dangerous with that.
Well, what's one job or gig that you took to survive that may have unexpectedly helped your career?
I mean, I think in the beginning of my career, I was taking any and everything, right? For me, I got an opportunity to DJ for Jimmy Rollins. So I was the team was in New York City. The Phillies were playing the Mets. They happened to be at a nightclub that I was DJing at, and they offered to have me come out and DJ for his National League MVP that year. And so that was my first like sporting event that I had DJ'd for. While I was at that particular gig, I met someone from the NBA, and they tapped me in 2008 to go DJ for the NBA All-Star. And that literally set my career path on track for doing professional sports events from that moment on.
Wow. So can you talk to us about the process of like creating a mix or creating a specific song for I don't want to call it a gig, but like for a specific sporting event? I imagine each one requires something different, or they ask you for something different. So tell me about that process.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's every single idea, every single project starts with a creative brief. So that's generally it's marketing. Marketing will come to you and they'll say, hey, we have this idea for, let's say it's a video for the Knicks. And they're like, we need a piece of music that requires, or that has this type of sound or this type of feel. They give you some comps, like, so, some other songs that they feel fit, and they're like, oh, this sounds like that, this sounds like this. But we would obviously like one that's an original composition, and then I can kind of start there. And I liken it to like baking a cake. It's like they'll come and they'll tell you, hey, we want a chocolate cake, but there'll be several iterations where that chocolate cake is now filled with some sort of frosting, or it adds other toppings or things like that. So your job as the creative is to ask as many questions as you can to limit the amount of changes that you're going to need to do, and try your best to shorten the process and shorten the time between the idea and the execution of the idea, and just your involvement in it. And again, give them exactly what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah. And
oftentimes they might not know what questions to ask. So it's up to the professional, like on the other side of the table, to be like, hey, this is what we're looking, or am I hearing you correctly? Or are you looking for something like this or more like this? Do you like, what is it about this song that you love? Because they may just like the beat and the drums of it, but they don't like anything else of it. And then you give them the same thing. And now you find yourself spending a lot more time, like kind of doing revisions after revisions to try and get what it is that they're hearing in their head for their vision of the visual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Cool. So how do you recommend young artists in NYC build a life that's financially stable and creatively fulfilling? So I know you spoke about knowing your value and, of course, charging, right? But just talk to us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I mean, I think it all begins with education. So I think you're going to have to model yourself after the ones that came before you. Seek out mentorship. Do your best to kind of get an idea of what path you're looking to forge, right? Like, where's your landing point? Where are you trying to get to? And I think on the way there, if you have to take two jobs to support the creativity, right? Because what you don't want to do is have your lack of resources hinder your creativity. And that often happens in times with creatives. It's just like, listen, to keep the lights on, if you're stressed out about that, guess what you're not going to be able to put 100% of your attention into is your craft and your art. So it's better to spend your time and your resources when you're younger, when you have like all the energy in the world to burn the candle at both ends. If this is really your goal and this is your dream, it won't be forever. You're just going to have to make that extra investment of your time and your energy to do both things at once, So again, that can, whatever that means, whatever that is for you, to create the time and space in your mind, right? Like to free up that clutter that's in your mind of like, I have bills, I have this, I have that. You have to do that. I think that makes more sense to spend your energy and time doing that first.
It's a sacrifice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that if you don't have the sort of safety net that some people may have, that's really your only course of action. So generally, like if you grow up without connections and financial resources and things like that, it's going to be a lot tougher for you to see how you're going to be able to do it all in the moment. But I definitely think that, God, it's a moving target. And when you begin on your path and you're aligned with truly what lights you up inside, like the thing that you are created to do, right? You were not created to do retail, but that's what you needed to do to get here. And some people's journeys are a little bit longer, but the upside and the reward is so much greater. I think that New York is a very expensive place to live. It's a very, like, there's so much competition, there's so many people doing what we do. But I think if you lead with intentionality and you sit there and you put the work and effort into it, you will see the return on that. So it's just managing your energy and your time, right? So if you just, you have to do your best to figure out what's the least amount of time to make the money that you need to keep the lights on and to also support your dream.
Yeah. So I'm interested as to what's your why?
My why's changed over time. I have a child now, so he's my why, right? But I think for me, nothing ever felt like music did. And for me, the first time that I touched the turntables, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that was like a light bulb went off in my head, where it just felt like this is absolutely my calling. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I didn't see or know how this would have like evolved into what it is today, not at all. But I did know that I needed to be doing music. Like, I know that sort of like the soundtrack of our lives and the things that I was able to do with the music that we had at our disposal, it just felt like I was creating energy. I felt like I was creating something that was like greater than myself. And once I got to DJ parties, once I got that instant feedback that I got from the crowd of like what I was doing was resonating with them, was changing their mood. People were walking in sad and upset, or they had a screw face on, and all of a sudden now they're smiling and they're dancing. I'm like, I was able to affect you in that way and sort of like have an impact. And that to me was very, very powerful. And I fell in love with it.
Yeah, that live energy transfer.
Yeah, for sure.
I could definitely relate when it comes to theater. That's how I felt with theater.
Really?
And
That's
stage.
awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's crazy. There's nothing else like it. So, well, is there anything that you wish you knew earlier on that would have made your journey a bit easier for you?
It's a great question. I think it would have made it a bit easier if I would have understood that not every opportunity is a good one, right? Not all money is good money.
Okay, please dive into that.
Yeah.
Because coming from, the beginning of your career, you're just looking for anything in the sense of like, obviously what's aligned and not anything that's, having you step out of character, but you're hungry, you're grinding, right? Yeah. So talk to us about following your intuition, clarifying what is for you, what's not.
Of course, yeah. No, so for me, I'll give you a great example. So I was probably about 21 years old at the time, and I had won a DJ competition at this lounge. So I won the DJ competition. Someone in the bar, it was a bar lounge thing, came up to me, asked me to DJ an event for them. But the event was it was started at 3:00 in the morning, and it was on a boat. Ooh. And I mean, listen, at that time, I really needed the money. So they offered me the money, and I went and I did it 1 week. And I didn't feel right? Like I literally internally, I felt like this environment was not for me to be in. I just wasn't supposed to be there. So I finished the gig, I did it. They asked me back to come back the following week. And I was like maybe 3 or 4 hours from going there. And I really desperately needed this check. And I just decided not to go. I called them and I apologized. I said, listen, I'm really sorry, but there's just no way I'm not gonna be able to make it tonight, and I'm not gonna do it. The boat ends up getting raided by the police. Yeah, it was a big teardown and thing, and it was just that right there at that moment made sure, it ensured for the rest of my life I'm trusting my gut. Yeah. And if the sort of the thing is not on the up and up, if the business isn't done correctly, or if the people that you're doing business with don't align truly with who you are, and so now obviously I'm fortunate enough to make my choices now, but even in that moment, I think that I was rewarded tenfold because I decided to turn down that money. Because it didn't feel right. I didn't feel like it was something that was positive in nature.
Yeah. Wow. So when do you think it'd be best to seek representation, management, an agent, things like that for what you do for music?
I think for people starting out, that should be step 7, step 8 on a step of 10, in a group of 10 things that you might have to do. Okay. Only because I think that there's so many resources in which you can keep as much of the percentage of the income that comes in for yourself. So let's say, for instance, for a DJ, there's a lot of DJ agencies out there that will promise you that they'll get you work, but no one's going to work for you as hard as you're going to work for you. And I think that what ends up happening is they want to pour gasoline on your own fire nowadays, like the representation. So managers, agents, things like that, they're going to look for someone who's already doing their thing. So build up your brand on your own as best as you can with the resources that you do have. Get yourself as far as you can go. If you at that point feel like you can't go any further, but you've done all the necessary things, right? You've put together your media kit, you've got your website, you've got your social media going, all these different things, and you're consistent and you start to see some success. That's when I would advise that you then you can perhaps start looking if that's something that you want to do. I personally don't use representation. I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's that? Well, obviously it's been working for you, but tell me about that.
Yeah. So the reason for me not signing with a management agency, I've been approached a few times, but for me, I was able to carve out incredible relationships like corporately and in agencies and things like that. So I spent a lot of my upfront years forming true connections, right? So a lot of people, they love to say that they're networking and they give out their business card and they try to set up coffee dates and they do all these things, and that sometimes is helpful, but I've definitely received more value in creating true connections without this being a one-to-one exchange. So really truly seeking out, let's say, the people that are in that field that you want to be in, or that perhaps can offer you an opportunity, and develop a actual sort of like organic relationship with them. You know, speak about everything but the music, speak about everything but the thing. And if you can connect and create friendships, those things will take you further along than some of the other things, you know, that we think of, like, what can I do for you? And is there any way you can help me? It's like a lot of people approach people in that position like that. So they're used to it already. They can kind of see through the fact that, like, the only reason why you want to hang out with me is because you see that I can get you an opportunity. Yeah. And so it kind of like falls a little flat, and it was a little tougher. But for me, again, I focused heavily on that in my early, like, formative years of my career. And so they're still lasting, and I still do the same thing. I still seek out those relationships. I still seek out those connections, and in any way that I could be of service. So perhaps in that instance, like, I know someone and, like, hey, you have your kid's birthday coming up. I'll offer to do the playlist for your, you know what I mean, for your friend. It's as like a thank you. I did something for you. That's it. That seed that you planted is not gonna grow overnight. It's gonna be something that's gonna, like, maybe in a year, they're gonna reach back out to you. They're gonna remember that you did that for them, that you weren't just there to take, that you were also willing to give. I think whatever you believe in, cosmic or what have you, even if it's not a one-to-one, right? Even if I don't receive it from you, but I was able to give you something naturally. It's just how it's worked in my life, where even if I've given something away, it's come back, you know, multiplied. And so it's something, just as a form of practice, it was something that helped me out in my career a lot.
Yeah, good energy. So if you don't mind talking to us about it, because this is a very social career, right? Just anything artistic is very social. It's energy, it's vibes, right? And it's collaboration. And we all like working with our friends, right? Yeah. So tell me about how you navigate, like, saying no or boundaries and things like that, because it can be tricky, right? You want to keep the vibes high, you want to work with people again, you know. Yeah. So tell us about that. No,
that makes sense. I mean, I think it's being sincere, it's being authentic to yourself. And I think that anyone who's in this industry is going to be able to respect when it doesn't align, right? Yeah. So they could come up to you with this idea that they had, and they think it's like the you know, it's the greatest thing in the world, but you personally, you don't have as much passion for the project for it. I'd be the wrong person. I'd be remiss to just take it, you know, from, even if it's a friend, and they come to me and they're like, oh, we have this event going on and it's to support, I don't know, you name it, whatever the thing is, and it just doesn't align with my brand, right? I think for me, I've mapped out the things, like, that align with my music experience, the things that align with DJ mode. I was able to build out my brand to have, you know, to represent something. So there's very few things that would take me off of that path. Mm-hmm. So if it doesn't line up with it, at least with friends, for sure, they respect it and they understand. Some people may get upset. That's okay, because you have to do what's right for you and for your future. And if you think it's a chess game, it's not the one play that you're going to make. You have to look at the whole board, and you're going to have to, like, plan and strategize to get you to where you want to be. And if you feel like this takes me on a detour, or this perhaps just seems like a waste of time, I could be doing something else that gets me closer to that, I would just decline the offer. Yeah. Or try to help them find somebody that can do it, right? So that better aligns. Like after you're in the industry for long enough, you'll develop the relationships with other creatives that, hey, you know what? This is not right for me, but I have a friend who this is right up his alley. And that's going to make for a better event. That's going to make for a better project, right? That they're going to be able to carry this vision home. I don't necessarily do this type of music and I don't produce it. And sure, I could try, but it's going to become better if you get him, because he specializes in this and he'll knock this out the park. That would be my approach.
So going back to how you've clarified your brand, and you have a strong knowledge of self when it comes to your brand, and of course probably who you are as well personally, but give us some advice as far as like when it comes to music, identifying your sound and your brand. Yeah,
I mean, in this day and age, it's really interesting because I came from a time when it was frowned upon to sound like anyone else. So your whole identity had to be unique. I think you had to, for me, let's say it was record shopping. It was really just further educating myself on all the different genres of music, thinking past, present, potentially future of what music would sound like and where that would be going. Allow myself to use my imagination in a special way. It's like you are an individual, you're a one of one person. Your perspective, your voice is very unique and important. And if you go and you try to sound like the next guy or the next girl, you already shot yourself in the foot. You're already taking yourself on a detour from alignment, right? And so I think for myself, for me to carve out that niche and to be how I was, I just allowed myself to be as free and as creative and in my most childlike state of just taking colors and putting them all together. And what sounded good to me is what I was able to then translate into a live audience and bring that out to the club and bring that out to those things. My pacing, I was very cognizant of that. I would listen to other people's music and say, hey, this guy's taking so long to transition from this record to that record. That killed the vibe. All right, I'm going to be a little bit quicker. I'm going to be a little faster. I'm going to so just adjusting as I went along to create my own style and create my own kind of thing.
Okay. Wow. Pacing. There's so much that goes into that, into setting the tone for a party and you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to think about it, right? People walk and at the time I was DJing from 10 p.m. to about 4 a.m. Right. And it's just waves of different people and different crowds. And, everyone wants to hear the hottest song of the time. So it's how do you set it up and keep them on the dance floor and kind of create this kind of roller coaster ride where I'm educating you on music you may not know, but that it does fit in. It does kind of, the mashups were going together, the kind of the genres are melding. You kept everyone happy, and then you hit the crowd with the bangers, and you have them going crazy, and then you take them down. You want to allow also, it's a business, right? So you want to have the cash register ringing off. So maybe you play a couple slower songs to have people hit the bar, or some old school stuff or some things like that. And so you're essentially just creating an entire soundtrack for these people's night. Yeah. And you're planning it from start to finish.
Yeah.
And you have to be very intentional. And you also have to be flexible, because there's sometimes that those things don't work and you have to pivot. And that's where having, a deep knowledge of the music and kind of just really an eclectic style is going to really benefit you.
Wow. So tell me about marketing nowadays.
Content is going to be very important these days, because we have an eyewash of so many people. There's so many DJs in this world. There's so many photographers, so many podcasters, so many different things. And what's going to be your competitive advantage is the frequency in which you stay in front of people's faces. We're in a very much attention-based economy. So I think if you had to lean heavily on anything, I would say lean heavier on that. Most people are on their phones more than they're at, events, but stay really, again, tapped into the culture, tapped into your scene of whatever it is that you're interested in. So let's say if it's podcasting, I'm sure there's sort of events centered around meeting other podcasters, meeting other creators, meeting networks and things like that, and just going to those symposiums, going to those meetups, and beginning to form, your community and your tribe. Because once you those things, you have lasting relationships. I have relationships that began at 17 at scratch that I have to this day.
Yeah. And
they benefited me obviously in so many ways professionally, but also just personally. And you get advice, and you might be stuck on something, and you can kind of go to someone, and I have all those relationships that they're just a phone call away, but only because I spent the time cultivating those, in real life relationships.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I know I didn't really answer your question very well, but it's just more so just you have to do a little bit of everything and find out what works best for you. and then just continue to kind of like, invest there.
Yeah. So how has AI infiltrated your industry?
It's completely it's such a huge part of it, right? So in communication, I notice it. Like, let's say from them to me, also in the creative briefs, it's no longer coming from like a human voice. I'm sure it's human prompts, but once I receive a lot of these creative briefs, I'm very much able to tell that that's happening. And it's just the way of the world. It's the way the kind of the scene is evolving. And I think that it's very important for everyone to just stay malleable. You're going to have to learn and continue learning. I'm forever learning and forever evolving. And for you to have a longevity, you have to continue to invest in that. So, learning all those things. And for me, let's say if it's helpful with, I would say, a lot of the content creation and the ideas that come from that. Because once you're doing music and you have all these different projects and different things, there may be days that you're not feeling as creative, but you have a project deadline and you need some help. So it definitely helps to get things started, but I wouldn't rely completely super heavily on that. It just still should have the human feel. It should still have your human, sort of input.
What's the hardest thing about doing this kind of work in New York City? And what's the easiest thing about doing this kind of work in New York City?
Wow. Okay. That's a great question. I would say the easiest part is that we're in the hub, right? Everything is here. It's all happening. So it really is like a big casino, in the way that there is a chance, like you are one step away. You're probably riding the train with the person that has the next opportunity for you. So your proximity to your potential success is here, right? And so that's great. But also there's a ton of competition, there's a ton of noise and a ton of traffic. And that's why staying true to yourself is going to be very important, because it's going to be very difficult to spot. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the purple cow theory. Have you heard this one? Right? Let's say you're going on a road trip. You're driving, you see a bunch of farms. You're going to tell your family, you're going to look like, oh my goodness, we saw a cow. Oh, there's a horse over there. That's cool. After you're on the road for a few hours, you're not going to do that anymore. You're not going to be sort of like shocked by the fact that you saw that. But if you see on the side of the road a purple cow, it's going to stand out. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, like, wow, like, did you guys see that? Everybody's going to look at it. So your individuality is going to be your superpower. You're going to be able to like speak to this subject like no one else. You're going to be able to tell your story like no one else. You're going to be able to speak with conviction or do whatever the art is with such conviction, because this is really you. And I think that it's worth the wait to make sure that the opportunity comes to you and it's right, because then you'll be in true alignment. You won't have to fake this. You won't have to keep up the mask or the air of trying to be something that you're not, to try to sound and look like her, right? So that would be my approach to it in New York City specifically, because everyone just mimics success and they just mimic it. It's like, no, take the principles out of it, but then apply them to yourselves and then go do it. Yeah. And I think also with the social media thing and following trends, the fact that has become sort of like the innate thing to do and it's become so acceptable, we've lost our own individual voices. I think we're like, I just need to try to, if I just, she got it like this, I got to just follow in her footsteps and do exactly what she did the same exact way. And then somebody will notice me too. And it's like, sure, that could happen. Perhaps it happens a handful of times. But I think in general, if you want longevity, if you want to like really, and then also you want to be fulfilled, right? It's accomplishment versus fulfillment. You can pile up your calendar with a whole bunch of things that don't really feed your soul. And that's why I got into this. Like, I'm not a DJ just because it's trendy. It was something that I needed to do. I would do if no one paid me in my bedroom. Like, I'd just be there still. So for me, I think that that's what's super important, for you to like get that download, know what it is that you want to do, and try a bunch of stuff too. Like, that's fine. But like, once it comes to you and you know that this is my lane, this is what I do, you should go all in on it, and in your own way, like from your perspective, and do what you like,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what are some common mistakes people in your industry make starting out, or any common myths?
I think they go too fast.
Right. Okay.
That's like the easiest one I could say. I think they go too fast. There's a lot of people that I hear that are, again, they're great. They're potentially they could potentially be great DJs, but I think that they didn't develop their skill set. They didn't develop the business mindset. So they kind of go out there, they go fast. They get a couple opportunities, get a couple gigs. They don't have now the time to grow. Like, they don't have the space to grow. Right? They don't have the space to develop, because now they have to be that, right? Like they need to continue to adhere to the thing that people like them for. And I've seen so many people do that, and then they burn out. They're like, oh, I wish I had more time to do this. And if I could learn how to scratch, or if I could learn how to beat match a little bit better, that would be great. But I feel like I don't have time because I'm working a bunch. And then they price themselves so low that they have to keep working. They have to like do, 4 gigs a week, at such a cheap price. And the people will use them, because they just didn't know how to price themselves accordingly. And it's like, yeah, well, we're getting a cheap product at our club, at our bar, at our lounge, and we're okay with that, and unfortunately those DJs or those talents, those creatives that could have been great, they kind of like, they don't enjoy the process anymore, and they fall out of love with it. And it kind of like, you allowed them to steal that joy from the art form, So I think if you take your time, you develop your brand, you develop the business acumen that you need to have in this business, because just because we do something that's creative and we do something that we love doesn't mean it's any less valuable than, any other segment of the thing, right? The people that the bartenders are getting paid, the bottle girls are getting paid, the door person gets paid, the person who's providing all of the entertainment the only entertainment for the evening. That's pretty valuable. That's pretty important. If you're able to, again, continuously put out a good product that brings people in, and you have a crowd that's consistent and they're enjoying themselves there, they're going to keep frequenting that spot. And so if you value yourself too low, guess what? You're not going to be able to compete. Like with the rising costs, the prices, the things of everything else, with the equipment and the gear and the keeping up on everything, it's a lot. It costs a lot. And I think they don't understand that, the true cost of it all. They kind of just think of, oh, well, I'm supplementing my income, and it's a little more than I would be making if I was doing a 9 to 5. And they kind of think like that versus like what it truly is worth. And they'd be surprised. They're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Mm-hmm. I do want to ask you this in terms of getting back into the music and also just equipment, right? So if I'm just now starting out as a DJ, what are some programs, equipment, speakers, DAWs that you recommend?
Of course. Well, interestingly enough, it's funny that you bring this topic up. I am actually dropping an ebook very shortly for DJ starters.
All
so
right.
I will save it for that. Whenever this episode drops, by that point, we should have it. I'll send you a link.
Okay,
and
cool.
maybe we can kind of link it out, and I can give you like a total breakdown of everything.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Resources segment. We will see you on the next episode.